Thank you for joining us on this breaking news broadcast. In fact, for the first time on TV, we are getting you the details of how an Indian team and a team of IIT researchers were the first to tell you that the COVID-19 virus was perhaps, they hinted at how it was not natural, it was unusual and uncanny, and this was the report that they put out. If my video journalist can just focus on this, I'll show you. On a very famous journal called BioRxiv, they put out this paper of uncanny similarity of unique inserts in the 2019 nCoV spike protein to HIV, GP120 and GAG. And the authors of that article were Prashant Pradhan, Ashutosh Kumar Pandey, Akhilesh Mishra, Parul Gupta, Praveen Kumar Tripathi, Manoj Balakrishnan Menon, James Gomes, Perumal Vivekanandan and Vishwajit Kundu. The date of this article, Dr. Venkatesh Rao is also joining us on the broadcast, and Dipti, let me tell you, look at the date. Date is 30th of January 2020, right? And then on top of that it says withdrawn, and then here it says the paper has been withdrawn by its authors. Now why are we showing you this and what are we saying? This is a paper, and this paper was put out by scientists and researchers at the IIT and a few institutes in Delhi after they did a detailed study about the COVID-19 virus. And this study was done starting November 2019 after the first case was reported, Dipti. They went into great detail, they prepared a paper, right, a scientific paper, and there were a few findings, and they saw that it was unnatural. They spoke of the spike protein. They found out what today scientists and researchers around the world are mentioning, and we're talking about January 2020. And ironically, it's the same team which developed India's what is today called the RT-PCR test. This team, which first spoke about it being unusual, had developed the RT-PCR test for India in 2020. They were cyberbullied, they were called pseudo-scientists, they got anonymous mails, unverified mails, they kept getting calls, and they were cyberbullied to such an extent that they had to take this paper down. Can you believe it? In January 2020, they had put out the truth about what they had learned about the virus, and they were asked to take this paper down. Now, Dr. Rao has been doing his own research. Dr. Venkatesh Rao is a laparoscopic surgeon. He's an expert joining us, and he's been doing extensive research. Now, Dr. Rao, you spoke about what this report with this paper found, and essentially how, if you look at it, okay, let's say it this way. We Indians were the first in the world to say that the COVID-19 virus was not natural, was perhaps unusual. And a team of IIT researchers and scientists said it back then. The Wuhan truth was known to our scientists in January 2020, right?
Yes, it's remarkable. I want to clarify the timeline so that everyone is very clear about what happened. See, back in 2012, there was a mine incident where miners got atypical pneumonia. They were investigated, and the final details were not revealed, but it was then later on found out that these people had coronavirus, after which the Chinese scientists, with American collaboration, collected a large number of viruses from the bats which were in that mine. And later on, they went around collecting coronaviruses from bats all over China. And they so had a collection of quite deadly viruses, first of all. And then they started gain of function research, which meant accelerating the evolution of these viruses so that mutations occur very rapidly. And then in November was what the intelligence agency said was that the first cases were in November. Actually, it was at the later part of November. The first admission was around December 1st. I've already explained that. So in December, the first cases got admitted into the hospital in Wuhan. And all that came out in a publication they made in Lancet. And in January of 2020, the genomic sequence was released by the Chinese. And then the IIT people immediately got to work on it, studied it, compared it with other coronaviruses and with other pathogenic viruses, and then published this study in what is called as a preprint. It is before review by peer reviewing and it getting published in a regular scientific journal. This is what's called as a preprint website, and everyone puts up their article there, and then only they, with all the comments, publish it. But what happened was, as soon as they put it up, they came under a lot of psychological pressure.
Yeah.
And later on, when they tried to publish it, it didn't get published. No one was willing to publish it.
Yes.
But it is remarkable that these Indian scientists in IIT Delhi did this great work so early.
Yeah. Dipti, they tried to publish it in other journals.
So,
they tried to
Niranjan,
publish it in other journals, Dipti. The last part, what he said is important. They were cyberbullied.
Yes.
They tried to publish it in other journals, but they refused to take it. Other journals refused to take it. Now now let's put the story in perspective. You had Nicholas Wade, like a very famous science writer. You have US and UK researchers. There were 18 of them who wrote an open letter. You have countries now taking a stand, asking for the truth that was reported back then in January 2020. And when I spoke to one of the team members, they told me off record, and without taking any names, I can tell you, they said that, today when they're looking at what people are saying and what scientists are saying, they say that this is exactly what they had found back then, right? That it was man-made.
Yes.
And they were really trolled, cyberbullied, and they were termed pseudo-scientists for exposing the truth back then.
Yes, one suddenly making such a discovery, any scientist will have a bit of hesitancy, and with first thing you would do is to put it up on this preprint website for other peers to comment on it. But instead of encouragement and comments, they got brickbats. So they obviously withdrew it, and then they were trying to publish it after doing all the review themselves. But they found that no journal was willing to accept their publication.
Yeah.
And in my article in Sunday Guardian, this is the fifth of a series of articles, I have very clearly showed an image from their paper. With their permission, I have published it. And also from the other two articles which I talked about, and those images make it, and the combination of these three articles make it very clear. That's why I said in that article that this mystery had been solved in January of last year itself. And my interest in this whole topic came because I was totally disappointed with what WHO did. And hence, I started looking at all the publications in scientific journals, and I was stunned to see that all that was required was there, including who all funded this research is there in the acknowledgements in those scientific journals. And I've listed all of them in the article that I wrote. It is acknowledged officially in journals. You don't need to go doing any major investigation. They have listed the entire set of people who have funded them. From Wuhan.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Rao sir, you're making some important points, but I want to understand one thing. Now, there are obviously different studies that are looking at different aspects that actually tell us why possibly this virus could have been man-made. Now, your own particular, study, that one we are referring to, was speaking about 4 such inserts. They say that these inserts are not naturally available in a coronavirus, and this was engineered. Now, explain that to us, sir, and what is it that has been predominant in all these studies that are raising just one question, that was this, unnatural?
Yeah, see, there were 4 inserts, and none of those 4 inserts were available in any other coronavirus, okay? And when they checked all other known pathogenic viruses, they found that these 4 inserts were from the AIDS virus. Then the AIDS virus is also an RNA virus, but it is what is called as, it is different in that the RNA there doesn't instruct the human cell to produce the same RNA. It goes back into DNA and then it reverts back to RNA. Now, those kind of viruses, I don't want to use technical terms because this is lay people hearing this. So when you have that kind of a RNA, which is, you can't, there is no report which shows how RNA from that kind of a virus can enter this kind of a virus. You can have exchange of genetic material between coronaviruses. These are all beta, what is classified as beta coronaviruses. But we have no way of naturally that genetic material getting into here. So in layman's term, if I can use these kind of terminology, this is what they have done is they have chosen certain viruses with, I would call it undesirable characteristics, and then used the genetic material and done a cut and paste job. And of all these 4 inserts, as I said earlier, the most important is the 4th insert, because that is to do with the furin cleavage site, which is specific to humans. It is not specific to other animals. It's specific to the humans. And this increases the efficiency of this virus tremendously in infecting human beings and causing pathogenicity in it. So this is the importance of what they said. After which, they were not allowed to publish, but various scientists who had looked at this and used this material, researched it, and they published it separately, including the recent publications which were mentioned by the international press, which came from Britain and Norway. A lot of these things have been, material has been seen and then been restudied and published elsewhere. But the first people were these people.
We're very proud of what our researchers and scientists have done. And that is why, we keep our head held high and we say, Dipti, an Indian team of researchers and scientists were the first to expose the Wuhan truth. Simply put to our viewers who are watching this story, where COVID first broke, our researchers and scientists found something and they put it up on this journal, and they were trolled and they were forced to take it down. And we know what is happening. In fact, many people who questioned, this Wuhan lab leak and who spoke about a possible warfare or it being unnatural have all been termed conspiracy theorists. They're all being called pseudoscientists and as those pushing fake news around the world. But I can tell you that it is also part of a propaganda to try and discredit those who do that. And it was a deliberate attempt. Yes, Dr. Rao.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, one small request to all your viewers.
Yes.
Please have more confidence in Indian scientists.
Yes.
If our ISRO people can send into Mars, all our scientists, if you back them and you fund them and have confidence in them, they can do things, wonderful things in this world.
Absolutely. On that note, I'll hand it back to you, Dipti. Thank you, Dr. Rao, for your time. We'll take this forward later today. Dipti, over to you.